Recently, 6 more games that were published on Steam were identified as malware, with one game in particular, Blockblasters, managing to steal $150,000 in crypto from a user that installed the game, not knowing that it was actually an info stealer in disguise. This became so serious that now the actual FBI wants to know more about this. So the question is, how did these games end up on Steam storefronts anyways? Is Steam safe anymore, or nowadays anyone can upload their malware? And more importantly, how do these scams actually work so that no antivirus detected them? 8 months ago, on 30th of July, Genesis Interactive released on Steam Blockblasters, a 2D platformer game that is now considered quite generic for a person that wants to learn how to make games. The game was free to play despite the fact that there were no microtransactions on the game, meaning the developer would not make any money from it. However, that was not the idea. It was free because the developer wasn't interested in your microtransactions, but rather he was interested in your crypto wallet. So how does this work? Well, by paying close attention to this directory format, we can conclude that the game is made with Unreal Engine, and what appears to be a script file that is targeted as malware in the OG folder, a folder that should contain just one DLL. Apparently, it was full of password-protected zip files, with this bat file being the actual payload that steals your crypto. Okay, so just as I'm looking here to the changed files to the patches, so there seems that in 2025 there were 9 patches, the last patch being in September, and if we go and check what files were changed, apparently there was added hi.txt, so there was a text message, and then the entire game was removed. Effectively every folder, because on an Unreal Engine game, most of the game is in the engine folder, and it just got removed. And keep in mind, on the OG folder, there should be just one folder. There should be just one file, a DLL. But look how many files are here. There's first 7-zip, then there's a bunch of stuff for 7-zip, so basically an archive program that lets you unzip stuff. He basically included the whole 7-zip, which is quite crazy. Then a bunch of C#. Now this C# is quite common on Unity games, but not on Unreal games because they're compiled directly on C++, which means that he included another program here, as we can see from this Win32 and Visual Basic.forms. So he made a forms app, which was basically the virus, most likely. Yeah, system.collection, yeah. Basically, he included the whole virus in the OG folder. Now, these DLLs, they're system DLLs, so they aren't the virus in itself, but the executable that we should probably see in a zip folder, in a zip file, because it had to be hidden, it had to be password protected, otherwise Windows will just delete it. So you see how much is here. Let me show you what an OG folder should be like. Here's how the structure looks. You have the engine folder, the executable. We're interested in the engine folder, so you go to binaries, third party, OG 164, Visual Studio, and that's everything. That's all you should see here. libog underscore 64.dll. But look how many files are here, bro. Just in the OG folder. Just in the OG folder. Look how many there are. This either looks like a few versions of the virus, of the info stealer, or some payloads. And I bet these are password protected. These are password protected. Password protected so that Windows has no idea what's inside them, and because of that, it cannot delete them. It cannot mark them as a virus. So on 12th of August, like 2 weeks before, came to that path. So likely this is the entry point. 9 kilobytes. Insane. Now, why password protected zip files? Because if they're password protected, the antivirus can't scan them. So this is basically a dead giveaway for viruses nowadays. Now, bat files are essentially commands that you can type in your terminal but executed one by one from the file, and because of that the antivirus picks it up immediately in some cases. The thing is, Steam wouldn't just let you upload malware to their storefronts, so I'll tell you a bit later how they pulled it off. Now, there apparently is also an accidental malware, if you can call it that, with Lampy. Once a nice indie game is now turned into a crypto stealer because the original developer lost the access to the account due to it being hacked. Although we all know what happens when someone hacks your Steam account. Anyways, for some reason this game is still up for download on Steam, and while I suggest you don't play it, I want to see how this info stealer is actually deployed. Alright, so I kind of forgot where I installed Lampy, but no worries, we're gonna find out. Okay, here we got Lampy, there we go. If we go to the store page, right? What? Bro, what? A few days ago, they're all up. Hold up. Maybe he managed to flag down the game. That's what happened probably. This, if you didn't hear about VirusTotal, this lets us upload files and the site will check it against a bunch of antiviruses. So as you can see, no antivirus detected it as a virus. So there is a pretty high chance that this is not actually malware. I mean, the game is not infected with malware, but you can't be for sure. If you go to details, it shows a bunch of properties and stuff that this is the application, and it contacted this website, which seems to be just Office. We can see under here input capture. This is because it captures your mouse because it's a game, so this I'd consider normal behavior. Okay, so I've looked around and the only suspicious thing that I could find was that it contacts svg.ha-teams.office.com, but that's all. And it is a legitimate website. While in some cases it's hard to tell if an application is malware, antiviruses have become quite good at detecting potential damaging behavior. So couldn't Steam have used antiviruses to check the game files? Well, it's more to it than that. Here's Steam's measurements to make sure the games uploaded to the platform are actually games. The first security check is a fee that you pay in order to publish a game, and this fee of $100 is required for each new game that you publish, although you can get your money back after your game reaches $1,000 in revenue. A second security check is the actual antiviruses that run and check your game files to make sure that you are publishing what you say you're publishing. However, scammers found a loophole. Apparently, the antiviruses don't check patches, so what the scammer will do is upload the legit game and then add a patch that contains the malware payload, and this is usually referred to as a bait and switch attack. Even though Steam's checks said the game was good, the developers cheated at this test and omitted the malware from the check, only to add it after the check was passed. But what is this check more specifically? Well, I can't speak directly for Steam because I haven't published a game there, but I can tell you that it checks that the game launches, looks like the store page says it looks, it follows the guidelines, and that's it. It might give you detailed information such as screenshots and performance stats, but this is platform specific anyways. Another way of fully bypassing Steam that I'm sure some of these games use is what I like to call morphing, and I will exemplify this since it is easier to understand. Okay, so I've got this quick example here. It doesn't do much and is not a game. Alright, so let's pretend that you work at Steam and you have to validate this game. So you run the game and it works as expected. I'm a game because I'm observed. But as soon as the developer gets the confirmation that the game is ready to get published, the developer will go here onto this nice little window, and once the developer hits update, virus deployment is active and the computer is destroyed. So basically the virus was integrated into the game the whole time, but it only gets activated over a switch over the internet. That's cool. Now you might say that this is never going to work, but think again. Volkswagen did it on their cars. The software could detect when it was being examined, and when it was, a switch was flipped and suddenly the car produced less emissions, passing with a higher rating than it should have under normal conditions. You can probably see that the methods used in this case worked because the examinators didn't have access to the car internal software. So this is why you can trick Steam into approving malicious games using this method, because it has no access to the source code. It can see that it makes a request to the server, but it will probably think it's normal behavior. A bunch of games do this nowadays, especially multiplayer games. They pretty much ask for information from a database or server a few times per second, so it's quite unlikely that Steam will flag your game for that. Now, I'm not saying go and publish malware. Please don't. I'm just saying that this system needs an update if Steam wants to have more evidence that the game they're about to publish is actually a game, and with all of this attention brought by the government and the FBI itself, which is now asking people that had run the game for questions, something will change, either in good or bad. I guess we'll have to see. You know what doesn't make sense? Making a game and putting effort into developing it just to add a malware and trick people into downloading it. I mean, if you've already made a game, why not publish it as a game? I couldn't find a possible explanation for this until I saw this. And what's this mega action platformer? Oh, hold up. Mega action platformer for Unreal Engine. And what do we see here on YouTube? 1 year ago, right? 2024. The game got released only in 2025. How could this be the same game? Even a GitHub repository. What? 2 years ago? I'll tell you what happened here. The game is likely an asset flip, as we can see here. You can basically just rip off this guy. That's how this games usually work. There's no one behind. There's no actual developer that like makes these games. Yeah, sure, there's a guy that makes the asset pack, but it's not meant for you to just steal the entire asset pack and repurpose it as a game. The same thing on Unique Asset Store. Here, let's search for starter assets. Let's see what we get. Fast food restaurant. So you can racing game starter kit. Most of the times these games work by just getting an asset pack and combining the virus with it. That's it. Runner clash template. So most of the times the games are already made by someone else that is not affiliated with these guys, and they just pay like on your $30 for these, pay another 100 for publishing on Steam, and then if the asset pack is polished enough or interesting enough, it'll gain some traction, and then they can make big time money